is Mr. Second Passport. Today I'm going to cover 5 reasons why most expats, or at least many, who move to the coast of Ecuador, I see, then flee for the highlands and relocate for the highlands of Ecuador, right? The Sierra, they call it here. 5 reasons plus some honorable mentions and maybe some other reasons going the other way as well. The first reason is the mosquitoes, right? Now, I personally lived in Guayaquil for a year, and I bought property in the Montanita area that I rehabbed, so I know I've spent a lot of time in the area, and I've currently lived now in Quito for like 7-8 years. So anyway, for me, the reason I moved from the coastal region up to the highlands, a big one was the mosquitoes, right? First and foremost. They are relentless. They will not give you a break ever. Even sitting on the toilet, they will bite you in the ass. Literally, that's what happened to me in Guayaquil. There's literally no breaks, right? Now, having AC, living up high in a tower can help, but still, say you want to go to a restaurant or something, sit down, you better live with bug repellent on. Or they're going to bite the hell out of your ankles, right? So, I mean, that's a big reason. Now, when you move up to the highlands, it's still the tropics, so you might have a nice temperate climate, but you're above the mosquito line in most of these cities in the highlands of Ecuador, like Quito, Cuenca, etc. So, big reason why a lot of people relocate to the highlands once they've already moved to the coast. The second is obviously, right, the heat and humidity of the coast, particularly in the months now from January through about April, May. The humidity and the heat is rather intense on most of the parts of the coast of Ecuador. And the rest of the year, from about June on to December, on the coast specifically, it's just overcast almost every day, right? So that's not too fun for some people either. But here in the highlands, you can pretty much count on sun part of the day, and it might rain for an hour or two or something later in the day for most of the year, or it might just be sunny all day. One day, occasionally, it might be cloudy, but it's definitely not common. I mean, you can see what it's like today here. The third reason that I've seen a lot of expats move to the highlands, it might seem a little stuck up, but because of all the trash and dogs, street dogs, that is in the coast, comparatively to the highlands. In the highlands, I don't think anyone can argue it's much better. It's not perfect, but it's much better than in a lot of areas on the coast where you just have a lot more trash and a lot more dogs that are really struggling, like really, really. Number 4 is you realize when you move there that the coast of Ecuador, for the majority of it, is quite rural, right? With very little to do, right? Except for maybe enjoy the ocean. But unless you're a surfer or a kayaker or a fisherman or an avid daily swimmer, how much enjoyment can one really get out of the ocean after a while, right? And number 5, it's a big difference that you don't notice until you're here and you've spent time in both places, but maybe due to being rural, but for most of the coast of Ecuador, you really need a car, right? You need a car because the buses don't pass that frequently. There aren't so many Ubers. If there are, they're expensive. The distances are pretty far if you want to get anywhere. You pretty much, to have a convenience in life, you pretty much need a car. But mainly in the cities and small towns in the highlands, you don't have that feeling. Like now, I've currently gone over a year without a car, and I don't really feel like I need it in the Quito area. So just something to think about as well. A few honorable mentions that are my opinion from my own personal experience. You might have had a different experience. But the 6th reason, honorable mention, because I can't really prove this, is the noise. Now, when I lived on the coast and invested on the coast, man, someone put a disco right below my apartment in Guayaquil, for instance, right? And it seemed like every weekend people really party hard and make a lot of noise on the coast. Compared to the Highlands, yes, they do as well, but not to the same levels, right? There's levels to this. A seventh reason, and again, it's my opinion, that I've seen other people move as well, the thieves, right? Now, you could say there are thieves everywhere in Ecuador, and it's true. But for me on the coast, especially if you live like in a standalone house, it's worse. It's worse than in the Highlands. There's just more of them, and you're probably going to get hit with home invasion type robberies a lot more than you'd like, right? Now, if you lived in a high-rise apartment on the coast, then you might not have an issue with thieves and things like that. But a lot of us don't want to live like that, right? So it depends on you a little bit as well. Last one that I've seen a few people move because of, well, after a while of living on the ocean, you get kind of tired of that constant toilet flushing sound. Now that's something you don't have to worry about in the Highlands because there is no ocean. Now some positives for the coast that I love, like most of us who live in Ecuador like to visit the coast constantly like I do, and maybe even, buy a second home there for vacationing. For me, a huge benefit of the coast is the food, all the fresh seafood. The people on the coast are a little bit more open and friendly than in the Highlands, I've found personally. So a little more outgoing, you could say. So that's a big plus for the coast as well. Now, one knock against the Highlands that a lot of people mention is, oh, it's too cold and rainy or it's too high altitude, right? That's just an ignorant statement, right? Here in the Highlands, thanks to the tropical climate at the equator, you can pick your elevation and pick your climate, right? So like if, for instance, where I live, if Quito City's too cold, which it is for a lot of people, you can stay in the nearby suburb of Cumbaya, right? Quito City proper is 2,800 to 3,000 meters. Cumbaya is noticeably warmer at about 2,600 meters. Now, if Cumbaya is still too cold for you, then you could go to next door Tumbaco, which is at about 2,300, 2,400 meters, and trust me, you can really feel the difference. Just a couple degrees warmer. For me, Tumbaco's a little too warm. Cumbaya is just right, but I like the cold, so I'm okay with a place like Quito. So it kind of depends on you. It depends on you. And there's other I'll cover this in a future video, but there's other smaller towns nearby where the temperatures continue to vary and you can pick and choose your own climate, right? And for instance, the valley next to Quito of Tumbaco is much drier than the other valley next door, for whatever reason, of Los Chillos, which for me is way damper, has a lot more rain. So you can pick and choose your climate for dampness and humidity also in the Highlands, right? If you want something warmer but not quite as warm as the coast in the Quito area, you could try Guayabamba. It's this town kind of out towards the airport in Quito, but it's significantly lower, maybe closer to 1,800 or 2,000 meters, I believe, and it's significantly warmer. A lot of the coastal people that live and work in Quito actually live in Guayabamba and commute up to Quito to work and then go back to Guayabamba because they prefer that heat. Anyway, that's it. That's why a lot of expats who initially move to the coast then flee, and I've seen flee and then move up to the Highlands, where I currently live here in Ecuador. Take care.